you're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna lose some oil. But anyway, again,
Man, what's up everybody? Ryan the K9 guy. As you can tell, this is not a K900. This is a 2016 Kia Sorento 2-liter SXL all-wheel drive. Not that you need to know all of that, but I like to be specific whenever I do these how-tos and tutorials. But this is my wife's vehicle. So I drive the 2015 Kia K900 and my wife drives the 2016 Kia Sorento. She loves this car through and through. I love it. But she's overdoing an oil change, and I figured that I would put up a tutorial, a DIY, on how to do just a basic oil change, because services these days are getting even more expensive. I know at my old dealership where I used to work, it's about 90 bucks plus tax, and that's a full synthetic tire rotation, multi-point inspection, and fluid top off and stuff, which is fine. I'm trying to help people save money, but also do the job the right way so that they can have that pride of ownership. So that's where we're at. We're gonna do a straight up oil change on my wife's car, not using any kind of fancy fluids, just some stuff that I picked up from the local hardware store, and a OEM filter, and a couple tools that you can source from friends, or you can rent, or hell, if you wanna invest, which I personally recommend, go buy them. But go buy, reputable brand that you can trust and rely on over time. So yeah, let's do this oil change. Let's get to work. Okay, so here are the essentials to this oil change. Something to catch the old oil in, the new oil, the new filter with crush washer, torque wrench for the drain plug, a 1/4 inch ratchet with an extension and a 10mm socket, a 3/8 drive ratchet with a 17 mil socket, an extension, and an oil filter wrench. Break it down real quick. So this is a 16 quart container that I got from Lowe's, perfect for a weekend warrior kind of gig. And you can take this back to AutoZone and other hardware stores, and they will get rid of your oil for free. The thing that I like about this is that you can actually pick it up and carry it. You don't have to transport it flat. So that's pretty cool. Again, 16 bucks at Lowe's. This is the oil filter. I always recommend getting the OEM oil filter. It's just, God, it's just right. But anyway, here's the part number, is 26300355505. Now obviously I've been doing this for a while, and I know which oil filter to get. This oil filter goes on multiple vehicles for Kia and Hyundai. But this is one of the most important parts, is this crush washer. I'll show you where it's at on the drain plug, but every time you do an oil change, highly recommend replacing this. This is, oh my God, I've seen so many cars come in without these, or old ones that got reused and were just mushroomed out, and it's just not a good time. Every time you get an oil filter from the dealer, you should get this either in the box or taped to it, like you see here. So this is a roughly 5 quart, maybe a little over 5 quarts. That's why I got this extra one. I got 530 full synthetic STP. Got this from AutoZone. I think it was like 25 bucks or something like that total. Again, you can do Mobile One, Royal Purple, Valvoline, Pennzoil. God, there's so many oils out there. But these meet the standards of everything. Obviously you can look on the back and double check, but yeah, right here meets all the recommendations and meets or exceeds. So it is what it is. I'm not fancy these days. I used to put Mobile and all. Anyway, I digress. Gloves, if you want them, that's just an option, so you don't get dirty hands. Then, like I said, the 1/4 inch ratchet. You can have an actual ratchet. I just had this just because I used to work for Kia, so this is built for speed. Which, it's hot here in Texas at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, so let's hurry up and get this done. Extension with a 10 mil, the 17 goes on the drain plug, which then you will use that on the torque wrench after you have drained the oil and are going back together. Filter wrench and extension. That might be a bit excessive. I'll probably get a smaller one. But anyway, yeah, that's the basics for doing an oil change on this 2016 Kia Sorento. So let's get after it.
Okay, welcome to underneath the vehicle. As you can see, I already have it on jack stands. Please do not do anything related under the vehicle until you have it fully secured. And when I mean fully secured, I mean on jack stands, e-brake on, enough room for you to move. I always like to give myself like about this much room. If I can lay my arm and do a complete 90, you know, because you need to be able to work and move under here. You know, move freely about the cabin, as they say, because we have to get all the way back here because we're going to have to take off this entire splash shield, which is, you know, I'm no engineer and I understand why they made this the way they did, but it was one of the biggest pains of working on this car for just an oil change because of this splash shield. Because you cannot get the oil here and the oil filter here. There's no access panels, none. So you have to take this entire thing off, and there's, let's count them real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
18 bolts. 18 bolts just to get the splash shield off. And all they had to do was just make an access here with a panel or just a free opening. Like, I mean, come on, guys. This is one of the struggles of being a mechanic, is you just have to deal with whatever comes at you. So that's okay. It's not a big deal. Let's get this splash shield off so we can get rocking and rolling. But again, please, jack stands, do not work on it with the jack as your jack stand, because if that jack fails, if the hydraulic pressure or a seal burst, something goes wrong, that's going to be a bad day for whoever's under that vehicle, and I do not want that on my conscience. So highly recommend jack stands, and then once you get it on jack stands, give it a good little bump just to make sure that it's secure. It's one of those things like measure twice, cut once. Double check your stands or your securing, you know, whatever you're using to secure the vehicle. So that's safety first. Safety first. Oh, speaking of safety, let me get my glasses. Oh, I forgot to mention, I am not sponsored or affiliated by any of the dealerships or Kia that I used to work for. This is just my tutorial, my DIY for all my weekend warriors, my garage gurus that just want to, you know, save some time and money and do their own work in their garage, have that pride of ownership. I just wanted to get that out of the way, but I'm not going to lead you astray. Just you know, just trust and believe that the information that I'm telling you is exactly what I did on every single vehicle that I touched. I mean, I've touched thousands of cars in my time working as a master mechanic. I had a very, very low comeback rate, so very proud of that. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that this is just me and my garage, and this old thing, this old thing, and that thing. Where's it at? Where's it at? It's too bright. There it is. There she sits out there. But anyway, this is just me and you doing an oil change in the garage on the weekend. Let's get to it. Okay, so we're under the vehicle. Gonna take the splash shield off. Remember, step 1, safety first. Jack stands. Make sure the vehicle you're working on is safely secured and will not fall on you and kill you. I cannot stress that enough. Safety glasses, anytime you're working underneath the vehicle, I mean, anytime you're really working on a vehicle, safety glasses, always highly recommended. Gloves, optional, but also you don't want to get any chemicals or anything on your hands, and makes for easier cleanup. So we got 18 bolts to get off. I'm actually missing one over here in the corner. Not sure where that one disappeared to, but I've got 17 more to go. So let's get all of these off, and I'll show you something about these just as a side note, but here we go. Okay, let's talk bolts on the splash shield. I got a couple examples here. It's an amalgamation, I'll just tell you that much. So this is what the bolt that comes off should look like, right? 10 millimeter bolt, little washer. Every now and again, you'll get one that comes like this, that has this big plastic washer that literally just came, as you can see, same thing. And then you may run across ones that look like this, that have no, well, this one's got a little itty bitty washer on it. So these go on the side. Let's see if I can get a good shot. Okay, so you've got 1 and 2, and then obviously on the other side as well. These are supposed to remain on the splash shield. There, whenever the splash shield is new, as you can see right here, there it is. See, it stays, it's supposed to be on the splash shield, but over time and just bolts in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, they tend to come off. So if it does come off, just put it right back in its spot. Proper setup looks something like this. A bolt with this washer won't come off. I mean, actually it will if you spin it enough times, but it's supposed to go like this. And that just helps secure the splash shield so it doesn't rattle or fly off while you're driving. I've seen many a splash shield absolutely ruined because someone did not put washers and bolts back in because either they were in a rush or they just didn't care. So again, you have 18 total 10 millimeter bolts to take off to get this splash shield. And once you got all that done, is just give it a little pull. And I typically just slide it to the back, just like that. Now we've got access to oil filter and the drain plug. And also the cool thing is when the splash shield's off, take a flashlight and just take a look around. Learn the car a little bit. I'll show you a couple cool things so you can kind of identify them, but let's get this oil draining. Okay, so now we're going to break the drain bolt free and we're gonna take the oil filter off, but I recommend doing it in this order. So we have our drain pan and you wanna have it centered, but a little bit further back because whenever this cracks, whenever the bolt comes out, it's going to go backwards. So you don't want it directly underneath. You want it kind of back a little bit under the subframe a little bit. So let's get it. So once you break, okay, first, this is 30 foot-pounds. There is a window. I think it's like 26 to 31, somewhere in that ballpark. Check me, I don't even need to look it up. I know that 30 foot-pounds is in the window, and it's a little on the tighter side, but that's okay, you have a crush washer in there. When you take this off, it should be relatively easy. You shouldn't have to put any real muscle or effort into it. So whoever did this last oil change, I feel very confident that they did torque it properly, or at least seated it to, I mean, I hope they torqued it. But anyway, once it's free, you should be able to just do this by hand. Now see, mine is a little bit tight because they have that secure, there's like a torque seal is what it's called. So that way, whenever you torque something, you put this goop on there, and that way if you ever see that the seal is broken, you know that it's not torqued properly. I did just verify that it wasn't, the torque seal wasn't broken. But now you see that I can't turn it by hand anymore. You should be able to turn it by hand always. But if not, just get in here. Minimal effort. Minimal effort. Again, just keep going. Now a little oil is gonna start to drip out. So this should be, yep, here we go. So my recommendation is get it to the point where it's really, finger loose, and you'll kind of start to see some oil drip down. Again, you want to make sure that you have your catch can or your catch pan in the proper position. And as you're spinning it off, when you get to the end of it, just kind of drop and let it go. Get your hand out of the way. You don't want this hot oil hitting your hand. Looks a little something like this. Ba-da. Now your drain plug is here. And when I was telling you about the crush washer, Now that one went off pretty easy. I will admit that was one of the easier ones I've done. Sometimes you'll have to take a pair of pliers. This is an aluminum crush washer, so you can just take a pair of pliers and pinch it and then have a ratchet or something here and spin it off. But this is typically, if everything is done right, I don't say done right, but it should be this easy. This, throw it away. Do not reuse it. It's a one-time use washer. Our oil is starting to come closer to the front of the vehicle. So now we can slide our oil pan up as far as we can get it. I might actually have to caddy corner this one. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do that. Dag nabbit. So again, oil filter wrench. Again, you can use whatever combination of tools you have at your disposal or that you can get your hands on. But again, this is just stuff that I have from years and years of working. So again, get it nice and snug to where these, so this one's kind of cool. It has like a ratchet, like ratcheting teeth on it, and they open and close. So as you start to come off with it, again, this should be very simple to come off. Boom, minimal effort. Now, I will mention, ooh, get a little splash there. I'm gonna plug this back up just for educational purposes. I'm just putting this back in a little bit just to kind of stop the flow of oil so that I can get this oil filter drained. And we'll go ahead and just swap it out while we're here. Again, you can get a larger oil pan if you'd like. Again, I just picked this up at Lowe's because it was 16 bucks and I just needed to do this. So from here, once you break it free, you're gonna get some oil to drop down, just like that. Now again, you can have a rag to catch it, but I recommend just letting it kind of drain like this for a little bit. When there's, you got a thin stream coming down here, you're going to get dirty. That's why I recommend gloves. Obviously I've got rags over here on the side, but what you want to do, an easiest way to prevent all of this oil from slinging everywhere, you just got to go for it. Just get in there, 1, 2, 3. Now mind you, you can take your other hand and kind of support it. I highly recommend that because once it comes off, flip the filter and put it in the filter drain location, and then you will continue to see some oil come out here because this is an actual oil cooler. So you want to make sure, the other thing is when you take this off, make sure that this O-ring is on the filter and not on the filter housing. I've seen it a handful of times where cars will come in and they're like, I've got this massive oil leak. It's like, well, whoever did your last oil change double gasketed it. That's the term, it's a double gasket. So again, once you take this off, make sure your O-ring is on the filter, not the filter housing, because when you go back with the new one and you double gasket, oil's gonna go everywhere for the most part. And then same with the drain plug. Make sure that your crush washer A is there, and B, you remove it and replace it. So I'm gonna let this drain for a little bit, and I typically let them drain for about 5-10 minutes. That way it gets out as much oil as possible. Mainly more concerned about the oil pan. So I'm gonna go ahead, grab the new filter, show you how to install it, and then we'll get back to the oil pan. Okay, so I'm back with the new filter. Plastic, take it off. Throw it away. Brand new gasket, brand new OEM filter. What you want to do, take just a little bit of oil. You just want to lightly coat the O-ring, and then when it goes back together, you literally just put it on, give her a couple spins, and then 1, 2, 3. Doesn't have to be super tight. I'm 99% sure there's a torque spec for this, but I don't have the special tool that sits on this properly. The one that I have would basically or potentially dent the filter, which you do not want to do. You don't want to dent the filter because there's, cartridge setup in there, and if you compromise the integrity of the filter, then you run risk of doing damage off of something as simple as a small dent. May not seem major, but just keep that in mind. When you get this back on, like I said, doesn't have to be super tight. And if you want, like my hands are a little bit slippery, before you kind of button everything up, wipe it down, get some brake clean just to kind of spray around. Like I got a little bit of oil right here that I'm gonna spray off, because anytime that you're under here, you want to get rid of as much, you know, residue or just kind of build up, so that when you get back underneath here to look at it again, if you continuously see oil buildup or residue somewhere, then you know that you potentially have a problem. So just a little kind of FYI. And then we're going to drop the drain plug again, kind of finish draining, maybe a little bit of extra draining. Yeah, see, there's a little bit more. So I'm gonna leave the drain plug right here. Oh, and then one last thing, you know, inspect the threads. Clean these up, wipe them down. You don't want any trash in here. If you trash threads, if you trash these threads or mess these threads up, then you're gonna have a bad day. You're gonna lose some oil. But anyway, again, don't double gasket. Verify that it's came off. Little oil on the new gasket. Put it in. Snug, you know, snug plus, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that I know for a fact there's a torque spec. I don't have the tool right now to do it. And then yeah, we're just gonna let this drain. So I'm gonna go get cleaned up a little bit and we'll be right back. All right, so we've been letting the oil drain now for I think about 10 minutes, and as you can see, it's just single drops of oil. It's no longer a thin stream. This is pretty much the end of the road. Yes, there is some residual oil that's sitting down here that you're just not gonna get out. And plus all of the other residual oil that's inside the engine that's clinging to, you know, all the parts, all the moving parts, that's its job, is to keep everything lubricated. So you're never gonna get 100% of the old oil out. I mean, literally have to break it all down. You're never gonna get it all apart. So going back together, what I recommend is just giving it a wipe down, you know, just kind of get everything nice and pretty. And also while you're under here, you can take a light and you can inspect around your oil pan, because the oil pan has RTV silicone gasket material, and that's what creates the seal between your engine block and your oil pan. If you see a leak around the surrounding perimeter of your oil pan, I would recommend spraying it down with some brake clean or some kind of degreaser or oil, you know, solvent, and then inspect it after 500, 1,000 miles, something to that effect. If it's just kind of like residual, it may just be starting to leak, or the oil might be coming from somewhere else. Again, this is why I highly recommend you get underneath your vehicle and just look. You don't have to touch. You can window shop. You can look, but don't buy or don't tell. You know what I'm saying? But just get under here and look. Just inspect. Be familiar with it. Oh, this is my oil pan and there's a leak here in the corner. And just FYI, if they're gonna leak typically over here towards the passenger side, the back area. That's where I saw the most of them leak from. Sometimes right here, but for the most part, back here in the passenger rear. So I've cleaned it up. I've already inspected. I have no oil leaks. I have no debris. I have no residual buildup. So I feel confident that we're good for now, because we all know that over time it'll go. It's not a forever chemical or powder or anything. So we've got the slow drip now, brand new crush washer. I've already cleaned up the threads here on my drain plug and I've inspected them. Everything looks bueno. So give it another little wipe and then throw it in. And again, you're gonna put this one in by hand, okay? You should be able to get it almost all the way down. Actually, you should be able to get it all the way to where it's snug. I've got about 80,000 miles on this car. So over the multiple oil changes that it has had, there may be some hang up, some small imperfections in the threads, but as long as it's not stripped and can be torqued, then, you're good. I'm gonna go ahead and get the drain pan so that I can torque. So as you can see here, 30 foot-pounds. Trust me, 30 foot-pounds. So again, and you don't have to use the torque wrench right off the bat. You can get your ratchet, which actually, this is a lot smarter. Get your ratchet, just kind of beep, 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 beep. Just with your fingers. See, now I'm past the point where I can go there. Okay, so I might have had like a little debris in the thing, but look, so now that we're here, you know, that's snug. New crush washer, again, gonna wipe it down just to get the residual off. And then I'm going to get my torque wrench. So that's set to 30 foot-pounds and torque. Thirty 30.1. Whoop. Yep. All right. Once you verify that your drain plug is torqued and that your oil filter is secure and you feel confident that everything's copacetic, you can go ahead and put your splash shield on. Actually, you know what? As a side note, don't put your splash shield on just yet, because since there's no window into the world of the under the splash shield, I would recommend that you put the oil in first and then run it. And then that way, while it's running, you can kind of peek up underneath here, quick inspection, no leaks. Then you can put your splash shield back on. Obviously, this is my car, so if anything happens, I'm on the hook. I'm gonna go ahead and put 5 quarts in while it's still on jack stands with the splash shield removed. And once we put the oil in, we're not gonna check the oil level yet because we're still on jack stands, so we're inclined. You wanna check your oil level when you're on level surface, so that way when you pull your dipstick, you get an accurate measurement. So while we're still leaving it on jack stands and adding the oil now, so that we can fire it up, crawl underneath, shine a light, and make sure that we have no leaks, because the last thing you wanna do is put your splash shield on, put your oil in, fire it up, and then you have an issue. It's better to catch it now sooner than later. So what we're gonna do, like I said, we're gonna check it while it's running, and I'll show you everything after. But take a rag or go ahead and take your oil cap off, and I always like to put it in the hood latch, so that way you can't forget it. If you shut the hood will not shut because this is in the way. It's just a little trick, a little mental note. Then you take oil funnel. Obviously, any funnel will work. Some are better than others. This one obviously has a wider mouth, so you're gonna get a faster pour. Just throw it in there. And then I always like to take a rag and put it in the general area where the oil is going to go in the event that I accidentally spill some, or there is a little bit, like I said, just a little bit of spillage. So again, I bought this at AutoZone. It's full synthetic. It was like 22 bucks or 25 bucks or something. I actually got 6 because typically it's about a little over 5, but it is relatively a 5-quart exchange to include the filter. Again, you can use whatever oil you want. The recommended oil, as stated on the cap, is 5W30. In your owner's manual, go to the back of the maintenance section and you can find recommended oil and oils that are acceptable in the ranges. It also depends on your climate, where you live. Is it hot? Is it cold? There's a lot that goes into it, but 530, here we go. Nice and smooth. Now I'm holding on to the filter, or to the funnel, just so there's no glubs, and then all of a sudden you've got 5 quarts of oil splashed all over your car. Ask me how I know. Again, we're just pouring the oil in. We're gonna dump all 5 quarts in. This lovely golden money that comes from the ground. It's so expensive right now, but hopefully everything will work out. There's that. And then save this. I'm gonna show you a little trick that my neighbor just, why didn't I think of this? Save this, I'll show you why. All right, so another reason why I like the rag down here to catch any oil that may drip or drop is so that whenever I pick up the oil funnel, I have a rag immediately at my disposal so that I can cap the bottom, and now there's no oil residue anywhere in the engine bay. And then after that, we're gonna put the oil cap back on and secure. Money. Now we're gonna jump in the car, fire it up, let it run for about 15-30 seconds, get underneath, take a quick inspection, and then we'll put the splash shield back on, put the car off the jack stands, and double check the oil level, and then add as necessary until we're at the full mark. So let's fire it up. All right, so another thing that you can do while you're in here is you can reset the maintenance service interval. So go ahead, foot on the brake, fire it up, let it run. All right, we're good. Look at that, 1711 overdue. How dare you? Gently get out of the car. Grab your light, lay up underneath it, and inspect. I got no oil coming out of there. Seems to be free of oil. Again, just double check. No oil leaks. No oil leaks. That's good. Okay. Now that we verified there's no leaks, because trust me, if there was a leak, it'd show its face immediately. So now what we're gonna do, again, you're on jack stands, you should be safe and secure, but if you feel uncomfortable, you can do this on the ground. But we're going to hit the folder option here. We're going to get over to get over to the wrench icon. See how it says hold OK to reset? Here's OK. This is a scroll wheel. All you have to do is press it. So again, service required, hold OK, press OK. Boop. Reset to 5,000. Now, if you want to get in there and change it, here's what you can do. You can press the folder menu to get over to the settings, and then use your user scroll wheel here. I'm going to go to service interval, press OK, and I'm going to change this. I'm going to put it at 3,500, because then if you go, oh wow, let me kill this AC, I'm sorry. Because then if you go over the 5,000 mark, if you go over the 3,500 mark, you know, 3,500 to 5,000 miles is a decent window to exchange your oil these days, especially if you're running full synthetic. And then I'm gonna bump this down to 4 months. So again, all of this is being done with this button on the steering wheel and the OK button on the steering wheel. So again, save, OK, and there you have it. So then you can cycle back to your wrench, 3,500, 121 days, which is 4 months. And now let's go put the splash shield on. Okay, so we've put 5 quarts in. We've obviously got the new filter, new crush washer, everything's good. We've checked it, there's no leaks. Also, once you cut the vehicle off and get under here, obviously if you have a leak, you can inspect and you'll see it, but hopefully everything went well and you have no leaks. So now we're gonna put the splash shield on. Again, it's totally up to you how you wanna do this. I did mention that you can put the splash shield on and just go for it, put the oil in and call it a day. But if you want to just double check and have that peace of mind, leave the car on the jack stands. It's as many times as I've been in a car on jack stands and done stuff, I feel that it's a safe move. But if not, you can lower the vehicle. It's again, your car, your way. But now that we verified there are no leaks, we're gonna put the splash shield on. And like I said, this is kind of a pain in the butt, but here's where you start. See if I can get this. See this stud right here? You're gonna start by centering on this right here. That's kind of like the starting point. And then you can circle around right here. Let's get this here lined up. Okay. So, like I said, that little stud, that's just kind of like a guide. And then the smartest thing to do is to have, you know, finger start or hand tighten one of these just so that you have it secured and it doesn't fall down. Now, like I said, this is I would say the most stubborn part is you have to get this inside the lip. So you can just take your hand. Once you get one side in, you can take your finger and just run it underneath the lip. But once that's there, now you can see that it relatively stays up on its own. And again, these should be on the splash shield, but if they fall down, just put them back where they came off from. I mean, there's no real rocket science to this, so I'll just start putting it back together. Yep. All right, here we go. Let's get to work. Now, some of these you're gonna have to mess with. I typically like to get anywhere from, say, 4 to 6 bolts installed, and just kind of like around the corners. All right, splash shield on. Let's take it off the jack stands, get it on level ground, fire it up, check the oil level, and then add accordingly. Home stretch, almost done. Thanks for sticking around. We have got 5 quarts in it already. We fired it up, went underneath, checked it while it was running, verified that there were no leaks, killed the car, actually went ahead and reset the service interval while we were letting everything warm up and do its thing. Now that I'm back on level ground and the splash shield is installed, let's go ahead and see where 5 quarts puts us. So first, take your dipstick, wipe it clean, first and foremost. That's rule 1. So then, you don't have to leave, you just drop it in, count to 1, pull it out, or you can just up and down it. Doesn't matter, but as long as it fully seats. Now you can see here, maybe, that I am right above the low mark. That's why I buy 6. I think it's like 5.3 or 5.4 on a full exchange. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna open the oil cap back up. I'm gonna lay the rag right there in the spot, and then we're gonna grab the extra quart and the funnel. You never want to overfill. You never want to overfill. If you get right at the full or just before full, that's good. But literally F and L, full and low, anywhere in that window, you're good. I'm gonna start with half a quart. So again, take your oil dipstick out, wipe it clean, throw it back in, double check, bam. So that half quart, I'm telling you, it's right there, just shy of the F. So I'm gonna wipe it down one more time and just re-verify that. Let me get this in the light. Yep. So I'm just gonna put a little bit more in. And here's what you can do. So you can see that I've got about half of this gone. Just go ahead and add a little bit more. Keep this for the next oil change that you do. Because then when you get the other 5 quarts, you already have your other half a quart. You don't have to buy any more. And then, you know, as these age, they may start to burn a little bit of oil. There's actually a window of, there's actually a tolerance of how much oil these engines can burn. Some manufacturers burning up to a quart of oil in between service intervals is totally fine, which I personally don't like my engines to burn oil. It's not a cool thing for it to do, but anyway, just my personal preference. So anyway, so now that I've added roughly 5.5 quarts to my system, to my engine, verified everything is good to go, check the dipstick, oil change complete. Now the only thing left to do is put now you don't have to take this off. I like to get it out of the way. This is the engine cover, the top cover, and you can see it's got 1, 2, 3 little points there. And all you got to do is put them on these little pegs and push. And that's it. So again, thank you guys very much for watching this, sticking around with me, hanging out in the garage, just doing some Weekend Warrior garage guru stuff. Again, This was on a 2016 Kia Sorento 2-liter turbo. Took 5.5 quarts to get it to the full mark. Brand new OEM filter, 530 full synthetic. Again, you are free to use whatever filters and oils that you want to use, but if I were to make any recommendations, at a minimum, get the OEM oil filter, and then whatever type of oil you want to put in the car. Again, I'm not sponsored or affiliated with any of the dealerships that I've worked for, Kia Motors of America, Kia as a whole. It's just me in my garage, man. It's me and you. We're doing an oil change. That's it. We're trying to save some cash, save some time, but we want to do it the right way. So if you have any questions or concerns or comments, put them down in the description, in the comments, and I personally will get back to you. Oh yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention before I get out of here. So you have the oil, the old oil in your jug, and then you just emptied out, 5 and some odd quarts into your engine, and now you need to go and discard the oil. It's one of two ways you can do it. You can just take that whole thing to wherever, AutoZone, the hardware store, they'll get rid of it. Or what you can do is you can pour all of that into the now empty jug and then transport that. Less mess, I think, but just wanted to throw that little tidbit out there. All right. Again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you can, please do me a favor, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that whenever I upload some stuff, you get notified. It's just us hanging out in the garage on the weekends, doing basic maintenance. Next up, we'll probably do like drive belts, climate filters, climate cabin filters. I really want to get into the weeds because I've been out of automotive for the better part of 2+ years now. And now that I'm starting to do all of this stuff in the garage to help educate and just, pass along the knowledge that I have on these vehicles, I kind of want to do some serious work because, man, even though that I am in a better place mentally, physically, and actually not financially, I actually took a pay cut, but the job that I have now gives me a lot more freedom and way much less stress. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to, go do this, that, and the other, and I'm not, trashing mechanics because I was and am still one, but I do miss wrench turning, just not at the professional level. I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see y'all next weekend.